Welcome to the Backstory Room. Today I'm here with Martha Keys. Appreciate you being here.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to be here.
So I'm just going to ask a few questions. Are you an early morning writer or a late night writer?
I mean, I've done both. Early in my writing career, when I had like twin babies, I writing didn't really happen unless I did it early in the morning before they woke up. So I'd write at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and then sometimes I get good inspiration when I'm falling asleep. That's usually when it hits. But most of the time, I'm writing like kind of in the middle of the day. I feel like my most productive hours are probably from like 10 to 3. I'm trying to cram in the last words before my kids get home from school. So that's in the middle of those two options.
Quick hit save.
Yeah, exactly.
Your go-to song right now?
Um, I don't know. We listen to a lot of Matt Hansen in our house. He's not like super well known, but I think he got his start on TikTok, and my kids love his music. They know all the words, and I think one of the songs of his that I have on repeat most is probably either Gravity or his song Chemicals. I love both of those, so I'm gonna go with those.
Wonderful. Um, Prefer a movie or a book adaptation?
So, like, a movie that's not from a book
Yeah.
adaptation? Okay. Probably just a normal movie then. It's always hard if you've read the book to not compare it to the book. Like, I get why they have to make different decisions for a
hmm
movie, but it's really hard not to be slightly disappointed by an adaptation of a book. So, I'm gonna go with just a regular old movie.
Wonderful. And then last two here. Favorite place to write?
Uh, I don't know. I've learned to write pretty much anywhere. Um, we we've traveled quite a bit, and I've had to write in the car and in a lot of chaos, and but like if I could choose every day, it'd probably be in like a quiet place with the nice views and nature. We in Vietnam, I went to this like co-working space, and it was in the rice paddies, and it just was like it was the coolest place, and that is like the place I think of when people are like, where would you write if you could write? That's the spot.
That's the spot.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Last one here. Favorite place to visit?
Oh, I go back to the UK. I can go back there just indefinitely as many times as I can. I'll take a trip to the UK.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
All right. And so for people who don't actually know you yet, the small group of people,
Tiny number.
how would you describe what you do in your life right now?
So I am an author of romance. I write both historical romance and modern romantic comedy. And my life right now is, obviously writing, brainstorming. Always got like multiple projects kind of in my brain. And when I'm not doing that, I'm like researching travel. I'm always kind of planning the next trip and just dragging my family around the world. So it's kind of my life right now.
No, that's perfect. And so, man, I feel like we first met you guys, my wife and I, when we were at a dinner. We're good friends with you guys as cousins,
Yeah.
Gina and Eli.
Uh-huh.
And Gina first, we saw you guys probably like 2017, 2018.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And your boys, I don't even know if you had your boys back then.
They would have been super
Yeah.
small. They were born at the end of 2016.
Yeah. And you have
So,
two twins,
yeah,
beautiful boys.
they're fun. They're crazy.
That's so awesome. So awesome. So there's a lot to get into.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to go back to the beginning.
Huh.
So where are you from originally? Where'd you grow up?
So I was born and raised in Salt Lake City. My parents were in the same house for like 40 plus years. So I was in that same house my whole childhood. And went to East High School Musical High for those of you who enjoy that. But we are the Leopards, not the Wildcats.
Mm,
So
yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
that's where I'm from.
Perfect. And so childhood, what did you do a lot as kids with your seven siblings growing up?
I got teased mercilessly by
Yeah.
my older brothers. But I mean, just we had a great neighborhood. A lot of kids in the same age ranges as all my siblings and me, and so we just kind of hopped around from house to house, hanging out. I especially had a lot of freedom because I'm on the younger end of the 8 kids in my family, and so my parents, I feel like were a lot more relaxed. Had to be a lot more relaxed once they got to me. So yeah, we just played a lot outside, and night games in the summer is a really fond memory I have. I had cousins that lived just a street over, and so we were just always around the block and doing all sorts of stuff.
Man,
there.
that's so fun. So you were in like Salt Lake or like a suburb?
It's Salt Lake City proper, like,
Oh, wow.
it is considered Salt Lake City, but I think, um, Harvard Yale is kind of like the area of
Okay.
Salt Lake, like the little smaller division, but yeah.
Okay. What how does it compare to like nowadays? Is it quite a bit different of it?
Yeah, it's really different. Like, I think about that a lot for my kids. Like, I mean, we had TV, and my brothers had like a Nintendo. Like, we
Mhm.
had Nintendo and Super Nintendo and all
Oh,
the
yeah?
variations. But only two people could play at a time at
Mhm.
most on those. And when you watch TV, it's not like it was streaming, so you had to know when the stuff you wanted to watch was on at like 5 o'clock. And so, most of our time was spent doing other stuff, and it was so much fun, and I feel like that's kind of you have to work really hard to make that happen nowadays, because the default is just like screens.
Check on a movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
and we're guilty of that, absolutely,
Same.
but, we're trying harder now
Mhm.
to make a little more of that, like, magic, childhood with, being outside and giving them a little more freedom, which is tough in this day and age, but
Yeah. Yeah, especially in Utah when it's hot or when in Utah
mm,
when it's cold.
mhm, yeah.
But
Yep.
man, yeah, just getting outside. I don't remember a day when I was a kid I wasn't outside.
Right, yeah,
And there's some days when my kids don't get outside for
yes.
hours. I'm like, "Man, I'm such a bad parent."
I know, you just feel so bad about it because you know what they're
Yeah.
missing, but it's so hard.
Mhm. What were your parents like? Like, did they help out a lot? Were they involved in your guys' life or were they mostly working?
Yeah, my dad worked, but and he worked like he's a hard worker and he worked long hours, but he was so good at being present despite that. Like he made a very concerted effort to, be at like my soccer games or my dance performances and same for my siblings and to make sure we had little like daddy daughter dates. And then my mom just like an amazing homemaker, but also like very involved in the community. She headed up the Shakespeare play at our local elementary school that the 6th graders would do, so she directed that for, like, 20 years,
Mm,
and, I think a lot of the kids from my, elementary school would remember that as, like, one of their most concrete memories from elementary school, that she made happen, and just kind of learning as a 6th grader, like, that Shakespearean language, which is
yeah.
so difficult, it was just a really cool opportunity. So I and my mom's both my parents are super smart, very well read, and, just great at encouraging us to be kind of lifelong learners,
Mhm.
and, so yeah, I've been really fortunate.
So even from a young age, your parents helped you quite a bit. You were into reading and
Yeah, yeah, I
Romeo.
always yes, yes, Romeo and Juliet. Yeah, I always really loved reading, like, we had, like, the summer reading program
Yeah,
and
for
and
libraries.
and, like, the classic jazz team was,
Mhm.
at their peak when I was, I think, in 6th grade, with, Stockton and Malone and everything, and so we had a big reading push with that was really so that you get the bookmarks of all the different players on the
Mhm.
team, and I was super into that, and yeah, both of my parents were English majors, and,
Oh, wow.
my dad worked at a publishing company for a long time, and
Mhm.
so it was really kind of just I feel like in my genes and very much in my upbringing to be into to reading and the arts, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, so there wasn't a big, oh man, dramatic push to get into writing. It kind of almost flowed because you
It
started up doing a little bit
it's
of,
funny because I never even considered writing a book. I enjoyed writing, like organizing my thoughts and
Mhm.
like, if it's like a blog post or I did a lot of journaling in my angsty teenage years. But I never considered writing fiction. I never considered myself a creative person.
Yeah.
Like I considered myself smart when I was growing up
Mhm.
because I was good at school.
Yeah.
Didn't retain a thing, but I could take tests. But I never considered myself creative. And so I didn't start writing or even think of the idea until I had read this book that was really popular at the time. And commented to my little sister, I was like, oh man, like I feel like I could have done better than that. And she's like, well, why don't you try? And I was like, okay, maybe I will. And then I was like, wow, this is really hard. I could not have written that. I could not have
Yeah,
done
yeah.
better. But it really like sparked this new kind of challenge that I found out that I really enjoyed. And it was a steep learning curve, but once I started, I was like, I want to keep doing this. This is
Mhm.
awesome. So
So do you think that was what really started you pushing like, "You know what? I think writing could be my path."
yeah, definitely. that push from my little I think it was her gentle way of kind of serving me a little bit of humble pie, which was needed because I was like, "Oh, so I could have done
Professional
that."
writer.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like so she kind of started that journey for me, and I'm grateful to her that she did that, but yeah.
Does she ever reach back out to you talking about that? So, you're a professional writer, and I should.
She's way too modest, but, I try to remind her that she was my first inspiration to start and give it a shot.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you actually start writing seriously after that? Like, hey, I think this is my path. Let me try and start writing some stuff or blogs, or what was the initial step afterwards?
So I just quit a job, at Qualtrics and was doing photography full time actually when my little sister was like, "Why don't you try writing a book, if you think you're so good?" And because I had that flexibility with my schedule, it just lined up with NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month, which is the month of November. And so my sister was like, "You should do NaNoWriMo." And I was like, "Okay." And so I tried it, and it was, like, seriously one of the hardest things I've ever done because I had no idea what I was doing. And you have to write it's supposed to write 50,000 words over the course of the month, which is, like, 1,667 words a day, in case you were wondering. And it was so hard. It was crazy hard. Um but I also felt really accomplished when I finished it, and, I didn't really expect anything to come of it. Once I finished my book, I let people read it, which was also terrifying, but I got such encouraging feedback that I was like, "Oh, like, great, maybe this could be something." And, um, I discovered self-publishing and kind of was like I'm a control freak, so self-publishing is right down my alley. And I put up I didn't go into it without a plan, but I didn't expect much from it,
Mm,
and so I, put out a little novella that I wrote and then my first book, and I was super fortunate to kind of get my foot in the door before, like, the market got more flooded and, to, like, build a readership early on, and because I saw how well it was doing, I was like, "This is, like I could keep doing this." This isn't, like, something that I shouldn't be spending my time on because
mhm.
I should be doing other things, like more photography, and so, just my success made me feel like this is something I can keep doing, and I wanted to, so kind of lined up nicely.
That's awesome. What years was this?
So I put out my first book in just actually May of 2019, so
Okay.
7 years ago almost
Dang, right
exactly.
before COVID.
Yes.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Dang, does that feel like a long time ago, or like, man, time goes by?
Feels so long
Yeah.
ago. Yeah, it feels really long ago just 'cause I'm like, I've written so many books
Yeah.
since
Oh,
then,
I bet.
and we've done so many things as a family, and my boys are, 9.5, and it's a lot has happened since then, so it's kinda crazy to me, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Looking back, what did that first writing attempt kind of look like? You're like, look back like, man, I was good back then too, or man, that was
Oh,
terrible.
man, no, no, it's really hard for me to read my
Oh, is
first
it?
books, yeah. I mean, I think that's probably true of a lot of artists, like, you grow a lot, and so looking at some of your first stuff, you're kinda like yikes. But I'm trying to have more of an appreciation for, like I was where I was and I couldn't be where I am without having been there first.
Hmm.
But that first writing attempt for me, it was really feeling my way around in the dark,
Yeah.
honestly. Like I didn't have any sense of the how story structure works or just anything about craft. I didn't know anything about fiction craft and I just honestly had a couple of scenes in my brain
Hmm.
and I was trying to build a story around those scenes, and it was just I had no idea what I was doing, and I
Yeah.
had to heavily revise that book, later on, but, it was baptism by fire, which was
Yeah.
good, I think, in the long run, but
No, that's wonderful. Dang. What side question? What's the
yeah.
most revisions you've ever done in a book?
Oof.
Is it like tons and tons?
I actually write pretty clean
Oh,
drafts
okay.
nowadays. I'm not one of there's different types of writers out there and some they'll just fly through a draft and then
Hmm.
they heavily revise it.
Yeah.
But I can't like I'm tweaking sentences. I can't really move forward until I get it to a certain point. So my drafting phase, the draft that comes out of my first phase of writing is cleaner generally than some writers. And so but I had a book that I wrote that Um, I had to rewrite, like, I don't know, 65, 70% of it. It was rough. Like, I feel like I have kind of, like, minor PTSD from the experience because I was so used I'm not used to doing that much revising, but I knew, that it was just not working the
Mhm.
way that it was, and the book's the better for it, absolutely, but
Yeah.
it was a lot. A lot of work.
My buddy from growing up in college and stuff,
Mhm.
he did, kinda like the drama route, but playwriting.
Oh,
So
yeah, cool.
playwriting's his
That's
big
awesome.
spiel that he's doing right now. He moved down to Austin to be
Uh-huh.
like the Austin Film Festival out there,
Oh, cool.
and he is the opposite. When he writes his plays, he's like, just rush
Just get
through
it out.
it, and then he's like, "I'm on edition 12
Oh,
or
yeah.
rendition." I'm like, "Oh my
Uh-huh.
gosh, dude." I'm like, "I
Yeah.
feel like I read this a year ago and it's a little different," but yeah, that's how he
Yeah.
does it.
Well, and there's a lot to be said for that because I think a lot of the difficulty in creating something new is just getting the story down because you can always fix what's on the page, but it's like, the phrases you can't edit a blank page, right? So I think there's a lot to be said for just getting it all out there and then fixing it up. Just my brain can't do it. Just doesn't work that way.
That's awesome. Were people pretty supportive when you first got into it, or were people kinda like, "Writing? You're not gonna make any money, right? Why try?"
Um, no, I have been really fortunate. I like talked about my parents
Mhm,
and they have been like my biggest cheerleaders from the beginning. And I'm very appreciative of them. But my dad like sent because he worked in the publishing
mhm.
industry for a long time, and so he sent my manuscript to one of his friends, and I got feedback from him as well. And then all of my family has been really supportive. I don't feel like I've a lot of writers will get kind of like the poo-pooing from people of like, "Come on, get a real job,"
Mhm.
and I've been fortunate not to ever feel like that. I've gotten, some funny comments from people where they clearly don't understand kind of the challenge that it is, but generally I've been very fortunate to have a very supportive community, I guess.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, that's awesome. Because a lot of people try I can imagine, try to get into writing and then, like, friends or family are like, "Guys, what are you doing? Go get a
Yeah.
real job. Get 8 to 5, go get your
Yeah.
401k," like,
Uh-huh, yeah.
so
Totally, yeah, I've definitely had a lot of friends who have faced more kind of just not being supportive
Mhm,
because it's hard to make it in the arts world, like,
mhm.
everybody knows, like, the starving artist kind of that's a real thing, and so I'm sure from a place of good intentions, people are kinda like, "You sure about
Yeah.
this?" You know?
No, that's perfect. So, you did that first book.
Mhm.
Is that what kinda shifted into, "I'm gonna be a writer now. Let's keep going?"
Yeah, definitely, like I said, it was such a challenge, it was so hard, but also I think just really a great mental creative challenge that
Mhm.
I just something unlike anything I'd ever done before, and I'm really glad that I finished it because, one of the things that I see happening a lot is people starting a project and then just getting so obsessive about, like, making it right that they don't ever finish it, and I think it's a huge boost for your confidence to just finish a story, to see it through to the very end, and, like, there's no feeling like being, like writing those words like the end and just knowing that you took the story through its whole arc, and, so I'm glad that I did that instead of, like, letting myself get discouraged or whatever and just, like, not finish the project
Mm.
because if I hadn't, I don't think I wouldn't be here. I don't think I would have been the type of person like, "Hey, I'm gonna try a different one," you
Yeah.
know? So I needed that boost from finishing the
That
project to
first one
keep
to be successful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you have other mentors? Because obviously your parents, but, like, author mentors or other, like, artistic mentors that helped you or kinda figuring out on your own?
Um, I did I was part of a Facebook group that was, called The Writing Gals that I think
Mhm.
was really instrumental for me in the beginning of, like, kind of navigating the industry, and, it's just hard to know what do you even do, like, to self-publish a book, like, what does that even look
Yeah.
like? What are the tools, the timeline, whatever. So that was a group I feel like I leaned on heavily, and then I reached out to some other authors who were publishing right about the same who were new to publishing about the same time as I was, and those people have been the ones that I've really, made deep friendships with that have we've kind of experienced the journey together, and that is the only thing that lets me continue because it can be a very solitary
Yeah.
thing to be, a writer, but, the friendships that I have with other authors where we can kind of, sympathize together and help each other through when we get stuck, those have been crucial for
Yeah.
me, and I've really appreciated them, but it's been more of the people who are going through with me than, like,
Mhm.
mentors that have been at it for a long time, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And you said it was a Facebook group?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, the
awesome.
writing gals, it's a huge group now, and to be honest, I'm not sure if it's quite like it was. Everything's changed since I started. Like,
This is years back.
yes, yes, it is. It feels like eons ago. Like, stuff changes so fast in the age
Totally.
of the internet, and
Mhm.
so it's so big now that I think people are a little less free with their help because they've been burned by.
Mm.
So it's not just like it was when I started, but it was really big for me.
That's awesome. No, that's great. So people can go find help on Facebook groups and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Especially that makes sense too, trying to find someone that's actually in the fire with you
Mhm.
versus like, hey, there's a famous author I'm gonna try and reach out to. He's
Yeah.
never gonna reach out to you probably.
Right.
So
Yes,
that's
exactly.
awesome.
And because just the nature of the self-publishing world, everything's changing constantly. So like when people ask me, what can I do? I'm starting out. I'm like, well, I can tell you what I did, but it's not gonna work like it did now.
Yeah.
Like, 7 years in the publishing world is like a century. Like, so it's really just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what
Mhm.
sticks, and doing that with other people is comforting, I guess, if nothing else, and bouncing ideas off
Oh,
each other.
totally.
Yeah.
No, that totally makes sense. Got your first book, joined a group, you're making more books.
Mhm.
What's something that you almost made you quit early on? Like, was there anything, or was it like, man, I'm success after success?
So I put out the 3rd book in my first series.
Mhm.
I sent it to my editor.
What was it called?
It's called Cecilia. And, I sent it to my editor, and she sent it back, and she's like, "This is amazing. This should win an award. I love this book so much." And I was like, "Yes." And then I put it out, and people did not like it.
Oh, really?
And so that was kind of like a wah, wah,
Yeah.
like, just because I think I had high expectations for it because of, how my editor had really liked it, but, I don't feel like I necessarily wanted to quit, but, I mean, there are things like little you get a review or whatever that just, like, sticks in your head, and can make you feel like quitting, but I feel like for most authors, it feels like writing's in your blood, and it
Mhm.
doesn't keep you down for very long before you just feel the need to keep going and to keep creating. I've got like a zillion ideas for books and I can't just, they don't just stick in there and not bother me. So nothing has been enough to make me stop, but
Yeah.
knock on wood.
So what is the first series called that you
Uh
put out?
It's called Families of Dorset. It's a 4-book series, and that 3rd book was in my 2nd book, she was kind of like the antagonist,
Mm.
and so I think that was part of why the book didn't do very well because people just weren't
Really
ready
have
to forgive
yeah.
her, or maybe I just didn't write her change or transformation in a convincing enough way, but, um, yeah. So Families of Dorset was the series that I first put out.
Okay. And when you put out the first series in your first book, what kind of, what surprised you the most about putting it out?
Just that anybody wanted to read it, like, honestly, I was like it just shocked me
Yeah.
that people cared, like, that they would spend their, like, valuable
Mhm.
time reading what I had written and that they cared about the stories, obviously, I cared about them, but just strangers, like, it wasn't like my mom, who's great and reads all of my
Mhm.
books, but it wasn't like people that were just trying to be like, "Sure, I'll read your book," these are strangers
Thanks,
on the
mom.
internet. Yeah, exactly. And I was just shocked that they cared to read what I had written, so that was the most surprising thing to me, and it still is, honestly, like, even now, I'm like, "Why are they doing why are they keep reading my stuff?" But I'm grateful, but it's wild.
That's like Elon Musk when he's like, "I don't think this stock should be worth this much." And then the next day,
Yeah, I'm gonna tank my career with this.
no, no, that's perfect. So then, when you first put out the book in the series, do you see these numbers like, oh, 1,000 books got sold, or how does that look like?
Yeah, so as a self-published author, most of my books are uniquely available, at least in ebook format on Amazon.
Hmm.
And on their back end, I can see it as a new author, it can be kind of like an obsessive refreshing because it's literally changing like every minute. I can
Yeah,
refresh it every minute and watch the numbers change. They give you like an estimate of your royalties every day and the number of copies sold and the number of pages read. And so, yeah, you can see it basically in real time and track kind of what your book's doing, and then they have rank on the Amazon store. That's also a thing that a lot of authors watch to see how their book's doing compared to the zillions of books in the market.
Is that kind of fun to compare?
Oh,
Or is like
man.
something you're trying to stay away from?
You try, but it's impossible. Like, as a business owner, you have to be aware of it,
Yeah.
and so
The
it's kind of
competition.
it's kind of that line of being aware of it, but not being obsessive about it or letting it. Because, like I said, everything's changing constantly,
Mhm.
so I never know how a book's gonna do.
Yeah.
No matter how I feel about it, I never know how it's gonna do, and so it's always kind of just, like, waiting to see what
Yeah.
the readership does with it, and, it's always a surprise.
Yeah. Would you try and when you see these changes, yeah, let's you're on Amazon, you
Yeah.
see someone else changing something, would you try and copy that or would you people try and copy you? Like, how does that evolve look like?
Um, Most of the changes are, like, Amazon backend, like, algorithm stuff,
Oh, okay, okay.
and so I just feel like we're always like, we discuss it and, like, I've got a bunch of chats with different groups of authors and stuff gets discussed there and people will tell what they tried and,
Mhm.
but everyone's just kind of doing their best to roll with the punches as
Mhm.
they come. But yeah, I have groups like my closest group of author friends that will try things together. And I've done a lot of multi-author series where each person I'll have like a group of, 4 to 7 authors and we each write one book in a series and the hope is to kind of like share a readership. And we try new things as a group when we're doing that kind of a thing. And just it's all an experiment, but there's so many variables that it's just really hard to
Yeah.
know what works and what doesn't.
Man, I was doing a little bit of research
Uh-huh.
when when you were going to come on, and I saw you have those multi-author books
Yeah.
series. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
what is this?
Yeah.
I was like, is that like four authors writing a book together? I'm gonna switch off chapters, but it's books.
It's yeah, full book. So I have a book and, another author has a book, but
That's
they
really
usually
cool.
have like a connecting theme or
Yeah.
location or something
Do you
like
guys
that.
collab a lot when you're writing, or is it kind of like
Yeah.
it's kind of up to
Well,
you, but stay with this process?
it depends on the project. I've done kind of a spectrum, like on the one hand where you're just like, "Hey, this is the theme, kind of have at it." There's always, some kind of like rules or whatever that
Yeah.
we're abiding by. But I've also done series like one I'm doing right now where it's incredibly involved and we are constantly talking because we're sharing a bunch of characters and it's really intense. It's fun. It's also terrible sometimes, but it's just a lot of work.
Mhm.
But there's a good payoff, I think, because readers really enjoy following characters through different books and getting to know a location. And so doing the work to make sure that we have like a cohesive
Yeah.
series like that can be really rewarding.
When you're doing a series like that, do you guys all try and write at the same time so
Mhm.
that way the whole series comes out like boom? The
So we always have a plan for when it's going to release.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's books releasing a month apart, sometimes it's a week apart. But that's the tricky thing is that every author's process is so different.
Mhm.
So some authors write a lot more slowly and some are very fast. And to get those schedules to line up is always really tricky. Like if you're an author in the beginning and you write fast, you need all these questions answered by
Yeah.
other people in the series and they're just not there. They're writing
That'd
a
be the
different book.
worst.
They're 2 books away, like and it can be really hard.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We always figure it out in the end. So
Yeah. No, yeah, because like book 3 is done. Where's book 1 and what's his name again? I'm like,
right.
I gotta go back and
Exactly.
dang,
Yeah.
a lot of editing.
Yeah, and we have a lot of like in this series that I'm writing right now, we share scenes. So I'm writing everybody's
Mhm.
character is in my book at different points. And it's like being a secretary. Like I'm like, what's your character doing on June 3rd at 5 o'clock? And it's like kind of ridiculous, but it's also kind of fun.
Yeah. Secretary Martha.
Yeah,
So when did
exactly.
you start doing multi-author series?
I actually started very early
Oh,
on.
did you?
I feel like my first multi-author series was a series called Bells of Christmas and we had I don't know. I'm sure there were multi-author series before ours, but I feel like we kind of started a thing like it became a lot more common after we started doing that series and there were 5 of us in that group and we've done multiple series together since then. And they're all really really good friends of mine. But it was just kind of an idea of for this particular series, we're like shared a first scene. All of our characters were in this one scene together, and then they all kind of went their separate ways.
Hmm.
Um, and the hope was to share readers and kind of support each other. And it's just been something that I've done very consistently ever since.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Would you say that you enjoy writing more so by yourself, a single book or a single series by yourself versus these multi-author series? Or they're just different?
That's tough because I do like the interaction with the other
Yeah.
authors. That part of it's fun. It also can be a little bit of a headache
Yeah.
to try and coordinate it all. So there's a lot more freedom in writing my own series, but it's also feels it's just more lonely, and it just feels like everything's on you, you know?
Mhm.
But in those multi-author series, I think one of the biggest difficulties is the comparison game because readers will they're not shy about being like, "Oh, I like this one better than this
Oh,
one," you
really?
know? And so
Mhm.
it's like a mental health thing where a lot of us are like, "Oh gosh," bracing ourselves for like the comparisons that come because it's rough on your
Yeah.
it can kill your mojo real quick if you see your book not on someone's like they have all their favorites and most of them from the series except yours, and
Yeah,
then you're
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Oh my gosh,"
Dang.
so stuff like that.
Does your emotion really tie into your writing? It's like, I'm going through a rough time with my spouse, or I got bad reviews, and man, these last 4 pages in this book suck.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's like such a mind game, and when you're going through a tough time, it's and especially, like, if you write romantic comedy and you're
Yeah.
going through a rough time, like, it's just, like, really hard. You can't
Terrible
force
comedy.
Yeah, you can't force it very well, so it is I'm always worried that, like, something's gonna happen that's gonna just, like, kill my desire to write, because it really requires being in a decently good place
Yeah.
to write the kind of stories that I do. I've been really lucky
Mhm.
so far.
So, first couple books come out. Was there a specific moment where your financial situation as a writer kinda changed? Like a book, a series, and you're like, "Man, this is amazing," compared to what you were doing before?
Um, yeah, so I think I mentioned I wrote my first book, but I actually wrote a little novella to release after, and I made it available for free,
Mhm.
hoping to kind of reduce um the barriers between me and readers, let them here, try me. If you like me,
Yeah.
I have more. So I had like I think a 3 week period between releasing that novella and then my first book. And I feel like I said, I was very fortunate from the beginning.
Mhm.
And I'm not like there's a lot of luck involved, to be quite frank. And I was lucky. So I feel like my income was pretty decent even from that first book, but it just started to climb steadily
That's
from
amazing.
then and continued to do so for a while. So the more books I got out,
Mhm.
so I don't feel like there was like one point aside from just like
Yeah.
I think having that novella available made a big difference in how many people were up for trying my
Yeah.
first actual full length book.
Everyone likes that free sample.
Yep. Oh, I know, but now
Costco
you're
free
like, "Oh, yeah, Costco, for example, is my favorite." But now it's like you can get free everything
Oh, yeah.
everywhere, like, everybody's they caught on to that, not like I was the
Yeah.
first one to do it, I
Trend
was not.
starter.
But no, then, so now it's like you can get free books. People have, like, hundreds of books that they've
Mhm.
downloaded on their Kindle and just never read
Yeah.
because there's just so many.
My
So,
wife's guilty of that.
yeah, oh, yeah, I mean, it's like who can resist a free book, you know? So
Totally. Dang. So, what do you think you underestimated most about making money or finances as being a writer? Because you probably didn't think you were going to make X amount of money or X
yeah.
amount of books, but now that you did it, what did you underestimate about it?
Well, I think I was really fortunate from the beginning to do pretty well without any marketing experience whatsoever. And now with the AI and the growth of AI, that's changing.
Hmm.
Like I I am having to try to like figure out ads and
Hmm.
stuff that I really don't like and that's always changing so it feels like a moving target all the time. But with the influx of AI generated content, it's just so much harder to get seen than it used to be. My books did really well organically for a long time, and that was amazing. And I was so lucky, but times are changing.
Yeah.
And so learning and knowing how to market, especially just with ads, I feel like is a pretty big deal now. Like I don't if you're a new author starting out, it's just a very different game than when I started. And so that's something that I underestimated for a long time.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on AI? Like, because I know obviously AI can be like a bunch of fake stuff and who wrote this
Mhm.
book, but like I know authors and comedians use it to
Uh-huh.
like help their bits and help their what's a good way to put this scene together? What
Yeah.
are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's such a hot topic.
Yeah.
It's like especially yeah, in the arts, in the book world, people feel so strongly about it, just like the ethics and everything. Because I mean, AI was trained on books like mine, like pirated copies of my books were used to train, like Claude and Chat GPT and stuff. So um, it's hard because like that cat's out of the bag,
Yeah.
like there's no going back. So even if I wish things were done differently, and even though I am kind of nervous about a lot of things that kind of the ramifications of AI and what it could do to human creativity, because I think there's a point at which AI stops being as helpful as
Mhm.
it is harmful, just because it can, if you offload a lot of your creative process to it, then yours weakens. And I love writing my book, so I'm never gonna like offload that to an AI, but it can be really helpful for certain things. Like I'll get tripped up for like 10 minutes on finding a name for a side character, which is it just like kind of dams up the process and I have to get back into it after I figure that out. And so it can be really helpful to like do that stuff more quickly as um kind of be more efficient in that way. Um but it is also frustrating to see people just kind of pumping out books like it's like make a quick buck.
Mhm.
It's like they don't necessarily care so much about the writing as they do about like, "Ooh, I can make money?"
Yeah.
And, like, I'm so happy that I make money doing this, but I also am like, I love writing.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't love writing. I'm not
Yeah.
here to, like, prompt a book out of ChatGPT,
Mhm.
like, so I don't know. My feelings around AI are complicated, probably as most people's are.
Mhm.
There's so much good that it can do in the world, but I'm also very nervous about a lot of the things that it can and will be able to do in the future. So I don't know. Time will tell, huh?
Yeah, no, straight up. And it totally makes sense. You obviously wanna make money, and
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
in the world, you need it.
Yeah.
No one doesn't
Gotta
need
have
money.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, like, the trade,
Uh-huh.
the
Yeah.
creativity, the crafts, putting
Yeah.
your words out there, seeing how you grow, like,
Mhm.
yeah,
I know, it's really tricky, and everyone has to kinda figure out their own, like, line or
yeah,
balance, and it's gonna be hard. It is hard, and it's gonna be hard, I
yeah.
think, so.
And it's tough too because it's not like this is going away.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
gonna get more.
I know. I know. So, yeah, we'll see what the next few years hold. I feel like things are just moving so
Fast.
fast, that who knows where we're gonna be in 3 years, and I'm just praying I still have a job doing this because it's possible that I won't. I don't know.
No, we'll have you back.
Yes, please.
Okay, so advertising, AI, a lot of things change that way.
Yes,
That makes
it's a
sense.
very different world than it was just, like, 2 years ago.
Okay, good deal. Well, let's talk about your focus, romance, comedy.
Yeah.
So what draws you to romance as a genre, but also mixing comedy?
It's actually a really good question because I, as a person, am not romantic, and my husband is
I'm
not
sorry,
either.
Brandon.
I know he's not either. Like, we are two very practical people, and romance a lot of times feels like kind of antithetical to practicality, I guess. Um, I my entry into reading romance was through Georgette Heyer, who was a novelist in the 1900s who put out a bunch of she's kind of the queen of the Regency romance genre. So her stuff is super bantery, a lot of wit. She's just so well researched, but very light on the romance. Like
Mhm.
you're lucky if you get a kiss. And I don't think I would have gotten into romance ever if it hadn't been for her because that was palatable to me.
Yeah.
I was like very anti cheese and she's like the opposite of cheesy. And so that was my entry into romance, but I just loved her books. Like I've reread them so many times and I felt very inspired by her. That's why I started writing Regency romance was because when I thought of like a world that I was interested in writing, it was that Regency world. Um, but I I don't know. I think writing kiss scenes is like so hard and it's always like the part that I dread. Just because it feels like a lot of like choreography
Mhm.
and you always want to make it unique. And it's really hard to find a bunch of ways to tell about people's lips like touching. But I really love writing dialogue and I love exploring how a relationship develops, whether it's between two people who hate each other or two friends or whatever. Just seeing the progression of a relationship I find fascinating. And so I think that's kind of the real thing that keeps me in romance. And as far as comedy, I mean, who doesn't love a
Mhm.
little bit of comedy. I never wanna, like, take myself too seriously, and I enjoy laughing. Most of my favorite Georgette Hare books are ones that just made me laugh out loud, and so, um, I really just feel like that's I don't know, I've written some books that are a little heavier, and I've enjoyed that process, but I feel like I also need the lightness of some kind of fun comedic stuff, and I'm inspired by, like, the '90s and early 2000s rom-coms that we don't really get anymore. They don't really make them like they used to, and that's kind of those are kind of the vibes that I go for when I'm writing my own rom-com. So, it's just I don't know, I could write other stuff than romance, but I feel like I'd always probably have a little romance in in whatever I wrote.
Yeah.
So
And that's so interesting because especially nowadays, like this is like the age of like sex and
mhm,
kissing and
mhm.
young and like they're all like billboards on I-15.
I
Like it's
know, I
crazy.
know.
And
Yeah,
so
it's wild.
doing it clean
Uh-huh.
comedy, romance, that's so
Yeah.
interesting. Who was the author that you
Georgette Hare.
okay.
Yeah, she I don't know, she probably has 30 plus books, and I think they're probably a little tricky for if you've never like, a lot of the readers that I have who their entry into romance was, like, Eden Brooke by Julia Donaldson is really probably the most famous, in, like, the closed door clean romance for Regency. But if that's their entry into this world, and then they go back to Georgette Hare, a
Mhm.
lot of them will be dissatisfied
Yeah.
because she doesn't have the, like, internal dialogue. You don't get to see the inner journey of the character. It's very much like someone looking down on things happening the language is harder, it's a lot more descriptive, so but for because that was my entry
Yeah.
point, and I'd grown up in a house where my mom like, Jane Austen was huge,
Mhm.
and, that it just worked for me,
Yeah.
and, it's something that I struggle reading nowadays because I can't turn my writer brain off, but I can still always read a Georgette Hare and get into it, so because
Yeah.
it's just different enough than the, like, modern writing of Regency romance,
Mhm.
so, yeah.
Interesting. Do you think more people would want like do people reach out to you like, "Hey, can you put more intimacy in your books?" Or do you think that your books are so niche now that your group actually like your following prefers it the way you have it? You know what I'm saying?
Um It's always such a tricky
Or is that
line
both?
to I don't get it well, I don't really read my reviews anymore, to be honest.
Good.
I got to a point where I was like, "No, this isn't" like, what I really need is somebody to go and read my reviews and then just give me, like, the through lines, like,
Mhm.
"Hey, this is some common, like, negative feedback, and here's common positive feedback." Like, that's what I really need. Reading individual reviews, I don't find terribly helpful. But, I mean, there's always readers have such specific they can have such specific tastes nowadays because there's such a wide array of content and books available to them. I get more I don't know. There's it's just a spectrum, you know? So
Mhm.
like I write here on the spectrum and I'm not clean enough for some people and I'm way too clean for other
Mm.
people. And so I just have to write what I feel comfortable with
Yeah.
and then whoever, you know, is looking for that, they can find it. I know there's a lot of pressure. Like I try to do some stuff on Book Talk and it skews heavily towards steamy books.
Mhm.
And so it's really hard to like get a foothold on
Yeah.
there as a closed door romance author. But um, I personally haven't had a ton of people being like, "Oh, why don't you have any steam in your books?"
Yeah.
Because I think I kind of have found my niche. But I've gotten comments like that here and there. They're just not super frequent. So yeah. It's a
Yeah.
whole spectrum, and I have a lot of friends who've started one way and then they've moved into steamy or they've gone the opposite direction,
Oh,
and it's
okay.
like,
Interesting. Nah, the reviews are terrible, man. And there
I
are always
know,
people like, "I could have written this film."
I know.
Go ahead and do it.
People like
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
yeah. People like me, I'm always like, "Hey, if you don't like the books that are out there, write your own,"
Yeah.
like, write what you wanna read, and
No,
then I'm sure you'll
exactly.
find an audience for it, but,
Mhm.
I can only listen to so much feedback. I can't incorporate all the feedback I'm
Oh,
getting, right?
yeah.
Because it's conflicting. People be
Those
like, "Oh, I
couch
hated the
couch
heroine."
quarterbacks, like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I'm like, it's very easy to critique, and it's a lot harder to do, so I try to keep that in mind when when I see the odd review here and there.
Nah. So what do you think makes a good or a good romance? Like, in your mind, like, what, like a good love story?
I think, people always talk about chemistry, and I feel like it's kind of one of those things where you're like, "What is that? What does it even
Mhm.
mean?" Like, no one is very good at, like, making that feel more concrete because everybody wants the characters to have good chemistry, but it is a big deal. I think and maybe it's just because I like writing dialogue, but I feel like the dialogue that 2 characters share together is pretty central, like, going on a kind of journey with 2 characters who, everybody's got their own, like, walls up, and they've got their own baggage, and so going through a story and seeing the characters, address those things or kind of open up when they otherwise wouldn't have, I feel like is a lot of what readers want to see. They wanna see, uh, characters caring about each other, like, they just wanna see evidence of, people putting each other first and also simultaneously, like, growing on their own. It's a tricky balance to strike, though, because you have to have people you need character growth, but you also have to have characters that are likable, and that can be tricky. I found especially as a romance writer that my female readers can be really hard on the heroines. Like, the heroes can get away with a lot, but the heroines and maybe it's because as female readers, we put ourselves in the shoes
Yeah.
of the heroine and we identify with her and we don't wanna seem, difficult or whatever, but they're a lot harder on the heroines and a lot less willing to see a big growth arc.
Mhm.
Um, but I think that they do need a solid growth arc, as an individual and as a couple. That's what really makes a for a good romance, in my opinion, is that simultaneous arc between, sometimes if it's a dual point of view
Mhm.
romance, it's both characters having an individual arc and then the romantic arc as well. Um, so I don't know.
Yeah.
I still feel like I don't know what a good romance is, and I
Hey.
put out 35 of them.
Yeah.
So
Hey, we're all on a journey.
yes, we are.
So, are any of your characters in the books or experiences based off real people or, like, real things? Or are they mostly all just
I pull for sure. I pull
yeah.
from real life experience and people, but I don't feel like I've ever taken someone kind of more like wholesale and
Mhm.
stuck them in. If I did, it would be more of like a side character who's inspired by somebody, but not a main character.
Yeah.
There's bits of me in all of my heroines, and probably bits of my husband in all the heroes, right? But I feel like I'm more like taking this and that and kind of making them into something new. But I have as far as, like, life experiences, more so.
Yeah.
Like, I could tell you, different books where I'm like, "Yep, I did that," or
Oh,
"This is
really?
something that I
Oh, okay.
experienced and I put it in there." Because I mean, what's the good of having a life experience if you
Mhm.
can't, use it to inspire your writing? So, yeah.
Do you think those life experience that you've had that you put in the book make it more real? Like, do people would you think that the book is better for it?
I do. One book, like, comes specifically to mind, and it takes place in Paris, and I've spent a lot of time in Paris, and so I had as like an American in Paris, I had a lot of experience to draw from, and I put a lot of that into the book. And I had a lot of reviews at the time saying, like, I could tell, that she did her research. Or, I feel like it really, I could describe things in a way that I think brought it to life more and made it feel more concrete than if I'd just been kind of making it all up. So, um, I feel like it does enrich my experience a lot, and that's why I take so many trips over to the UK. I go through these, like, historic homes, and it brings it to life for me in a way that helps me bring it to life for the reader, so I think it's really valuable to be able to draw on your own life experience.
Yeah. Do you like going over to the UK versus, like have you gone anywhere else? Because Regency
Yeah.
is mostly, like, that
Yes.
area.
Yeah, I have gone to the UK a lot. I I love it, so much, but I also have traveled a lot elsewhere. We've done trips as a family. Like we did in 2022, we spent most of the year in Europe, and the summer was in the UK and Ireland, but the rest of it was we've done Spain and France a lot. My husband served a mission in Spain, and I was an exchange student in France when I was younger. So those are two places that feel very comfortable to us. And then we like last year we were in Southeast Asia for a few months, and the year before that we did a traveling school in
Mhm.
Albania, Greece, and Bulgaria. So we've been around a fair amount, and but the UK is a place that
Yeah.
I'm always going back
Second
to.
home.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. So Brandon speaks Spanish and you
Yeah,
speak French, yeah?
I do, yeah.
Okay. I'm sure that helps when you're all over the UK.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's helpful it's been a really big blessing in my life, I feel like, to know a second language, and it just opens up a brand new culture in a way that it's not available to you if you don't know that culture.
Mhm.
And I've been in a lot of places where I don't speak the language,
Yeah.
and I just know it just feels you feel how limited you are. Not that you can't experience the culture and appreciate it, but it really does open so many doors to have that language available.
Yeah. Do you try and put that some of the French language or culture in your writing sometimes too?
Yeah. So, um, I wrote that my book Host for the Holidays takes place in Paris over the holidays. And that was one where it was heavily drawn from my
Mm.
experience. And I've had books actually that one Cecilia that I mentioned has a French hero, and so I put some French in there. The struggle I have is when it's time to make my audiobook, finding a narrator who can do the French in a
Mhm.
way that is like
Doesn't
my
work yet?
brain can handle is hard,
Yeah.
It's so but yeah, it's something that I've stuck in a few of my books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever come up to you and be like, "Hey, that character, is that based off me? 'Cause I see myself." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sure you do."
I always worry that people are gonna think that. But no, thankfully, I've never had anybody
Okay.
make that
Not yet.
assumption. Maybe they just haven't told me, I
Yeah.
don't know, but, uh
Secretly, they're thinking.
yeah, gosh, I hopefully it's a good character.
Yeah. They're probably like, "I should be getting royalties off
Yeah,
this."
yeah.
Alright, and then how do you when you're doing your romance in
Mhm,
your books, how do you
mhm,
make the relationships not like authentic, not like
mm.
cliche, like, "Oh, this is the same thing over and over." I'm sure that's hard.
Yeah, it is because romance is the
Yeah.
biggest genre in the world. It's the by far the biggest moneymaker, and so there's a lot of it,
Yeah.
and, there's a lot of tropes that are just really common because people love them. Enemies to lovers is a trope, and it's massively popular, so making each one feel unique and different is a constant struggle. I was just talking to one of my friends today about how I'm going to wrap up this story, and I was like, "Oh, it feels so predictable." And she's
Mhm.
like, "But you have to do like that's what the story is building to." And so I'm like, I still feel like even if stuff is familiar, everybody knows in a romance they're going to get together in the end,
Mhm.
right? It's the journey that they're interested in, how they make it there. I still feel like even with familiar tropes and stuff, there's ways to make it your own, and I you really just have to rely on your voice and your unique thought processes to make that happen. If I'm trying to copy what another author did and achieve something that I've seen or even like admired, then that's when I feel like it gets to feel a little bit stale or just already done. Um, I don't know. You have to be creative and think out of the box. You have to like I'll just list a bunch of different ways things could go if I'm in a scene and I don't quite know. I'm like, oh, this could happen, or this could happen, or this could happen, or this could happen, and I follow the most interesting and maybe unexpected one of those, and see where it takes me. And I don't know, it's just all just an experiment.
Yeah.
Just
Would you ever end a book with not a get together?
oh man, no, I would
No.
be burnt at the stake. You should see on TikTok especially, like it's the definition of a romance is a happily ever after, or a
Okay.
happily for now is another one. But your books don't end up together and people will come with the pitchforks. It's
Really?
not a romance anymore if that happens. So,
Maybe you should do a first.
oh gosh. Yeah, if I wanted to take my career, if you don't call it a romance, people will let you do anything.
Yeah.
But if it's called a romance and you do that, they will be up in arms about it.
What about
So,
anti-romance?
anti-romance, yeah. Yep. I mean, that's I feel like women's fiction is where you see a lot of times you'll see like a romance happening, but it's more about the woman's journey,
Yeah.
and so sometimes they don't end up together. It's really about where she ends, and not about who she ends up with. So that's it. Kind of exists in its own way. But romance got to have that HEA.
Happily ever after.
Yep.
So romance is good. Romance is good.
It's good.
So you
Yep.
found your niche, doing
Uh-huh.
well. So now you're pretty successful. You've done a couple stuff over the last 7 years. So you wake up in the morning. What does a typical day look like for you? When do you write? How do you write word? Like, give me a day
Mm.
by day.
So I try to work out after my kids go to school.
Hmm.
My husband and I try to do a workout every morning. And after that, I come home, get ready, and then usually it's 9:30 or 10 before I'm sitting down at my computer. There's always a bunch of stuff to do that's not writing. Um, whether it's like newsletter, responding to emails, like I know there's a million things that are not writing that you have to do as a self-published author. But um And how long I have a word count goal every day. I try to write 4 or 5 days a week, and my word count goal is usually 2,000 words. And, some days that it flows and I'm done in, like, I don't know, 3 hours is pretty good for me. Some days it's, like, 8 or 9 hours. It's like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes in a scene, either I don't know exactly where I want it to go, and so it's really hard for me to get into a groove, or I'm writing a tricky scene where I really need to get the dialogue or the emotions right, and it's just hard. So it can differ pretty widely depending on the day. But I found that I have to do a lot of pre-work, in my head. I've taken in the past couple months to actually physically writing on a legal pad. I'm, like, thinking, brainstorming on my legal pad, and I don't know what it is about it, but it's been a huge help for me. Like, something about it's not I can do it on my computer. I have a
Mhm.
software program where I can plug all that in, but it's just different when I'm doing it by hand. It just things gel better, than if I were doing it at a computer. So I do that. My writing, I try to be done by when the kids get out of school, but I'm often doing stuff until dinner time. And then Brandon is my best support. He does everything around the house. Basically, I'm just in my office, like, clacking away on the keyboard and procrastinating, and he's, like, running the show at home and
Yeah.
making me food, and so, I don't know. Then it's just, the usual stuff you have
Yeah.
when you have kids, like trying to keep them entertained
Mhm.
and making food and making it till bedtime.
Yeah.
But I mean, my brain is really hard to turn off. Like, I've found that I'm a lot less attentive than I used to be because my brain, like, gets it's, like, always trying to figure out stuff for my story, like, always trying to tweak plot holes and explore dialogue options and stuff, and it's really hard to turn off, so it's just always there, and I'm having to write stuff down when it comes to me because if I don't, it's gone.
Mm.
Um, but I don't know, that's a pretty average day for me. It's a lot of time at the computer, and like I said, a lot of time doing stuff that's not writing, and even when I'm trying to write, it's a lot of time, like, I get stuck and then I go and do something else because I'm just, like, procrastinating, continuing. So, yeah, most of my days at the computer. It's so glamorous.
Do you like to use the blue light glasses?
I haven't been, but I need to. I
Yeah.
just went to the eye doctor
Oh, did
last
you?
week, and I'm like, "My vision's getting way worse.
No.
I can tell."
Do you wear glasses?
I am about to order some.
Oh, really?
Um,
Ah,
so he's like he said, basically there's differing data about whether they work or not, but he's like, I'd do it. Like, I
yeah.
mean, it could help. It's not gonna hurt. So I'm gonna get me some blue light glasses and see how that does.
Yeah, I'm at a computer a lot as
Yeah.
well, 8 hours a day for my
Mhm.
job, and it's the worst because 'cause I've gone through phases
Mhm.
with blue light on and off,
Yeah.
and man, it makes a big
Does
difference.
it?
Like,
Okay.
literally, headaches, not a thing anymore,
Really?
sleep is better.
Okay.
My wife gets on me because 'cause I'm terrible at it, so
Yeah.
I love you, but
Okay. Well, I'm sold then, because yeah, it's I get migraines and I can always use some help in the sleep territory, but I had to, like, change my whole setup because
Mm,
just for better ergonomics
yeah.
because I'm, like, hunched over my
Oh,
especially when
terrible.
we travel, I'm hunched over my laptop
Yeah.
and my wrist is mad with the trackpad and my neck's getting, like, the
Mhm.
dowager hump, and it's just bad for me. So I've had to, like, set my computer higher, and I
Yeah.
have an ergonomic keyboard. It's not pretty. Like, some people have really cute
Mhm.
setups and mine's just, like, all about ergonomics. So you got to take care of your
Oh,
body.
totally. Do you stand when you do it? Or you mostly sit?
I mostly sit,
Okay.
though in our workouts each morning, I've actually started writing while I'm on the treadmill,
Mhm.
and I get a good amount of words when I'm on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Like, there's something about it that I feel like is kinda magical. I didn't think I'd be able to type and walk at the same time, but turns out I can.
That's a learned skill.
Yeah. So, yeah, I should be doing a lot more standing. I don't have, like, a sit-stand
Yeah.
desk, and I should get one because yeah.
Yeah. I don't either, but all my coworkers and friends are like,
Yeah.
"Dude, you gotta get it. It's a life changer."
Yeah, I should. I
It
That's a good investment to make.
yeah, and they're cheap. I think I looked the marketplace,
Really?
like $50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have
Maybe
no
maybe it's a
excuse
bad
then.
one, but
Yeah. True.
not the name brands. So, you write 4 or 5 times a week,
Yeah,
try for
that's
go for 2,000 words.
mhm.
Do you ever sit down and you're like, "Man, writer's block." How do you get out of it?
Yes, though It's hard because sometimes I just need to not write.
Oh, really?
But generally, the problem is that I'm feeling uninspired, and whatever scene I'm up to write next is just it's not exciting enough for my brain to be ready to write it. And so a lot of times it's either rethinking the scene or just writing through it. Like there's for me, I've found that there's just some stuff that I have to get through,
Mhm.
and I can go back and tweak it later, but I could take days sometimes and just not write because I'm stuck at a spot, and at some point, I just have to push through it,
Sure, that's
and
frustrating.
yeah, yeah, and it's hard because sometimes I do need to take a break, but usually those breaks for me are pretty short. Like, I don't I don't do much. Like, a lot of some authors will be like, "Oh, I finished a book, I'm gonna take,
Mhm.
a month break."
Yeah.
I don't know, something's wrong with me, but I can't do it. Like, I'm too eager and anxious to write, I guess. I don't know what it is. I think I'm Brandon says I'm a workaholic. I was like, "No, I'm not," but I'm like, "Oh, shoot. What if I am?" Um, but usually writer's block for me is just a matter of, like, muscling through,
Yeah.
which I feel bad because I know, like, a lot of people probably not like to hear that, and everybody's different. But for me, my biggest block moments are just because I don't wanna do it, and I just have to make myself.
Yeah. I can imagine, especially if that's what you do for a living, like, you gotta just
Yeah, it's
get
not
to page 2.
always it's a job,
Yeah.
so it's not always amazing, and
Mhm.
it's sometimes it's really hard, and, some days are lame, but, it's also amazing, and there are great moments, and you're right for those moments when you just have, like, an epiphany, and those are the ones that you're kinda always chasing after, but, um, it's the same as any job, not always glitz and glam and fun.
Yeah. But it is cool that you like what you do. How many people out there like, "Man,
Oh,
I hate my job,
I know.
midlife crisis," like, dude, you love your life.
I
That's
know.
awesome.
I feel so fortunate, honestly, like, I'm always feeling like at some point the other shoe is gonna drop because I'm like, "This is too good."
Yeah.
Like, not that there's nothing bad about it, but, like, man, like, what a life I
Mhm.
get to live. Like, I get to write stories and people read them. Like I said, I just can't fathom it, but, like, that this is what I get to do for a living is kind of mind-blowing to me.
That's awesome. So what do you think is the shortest amount of time it took you to finish a book and, like, the longest it took?
Ugh. The longest was my first book because I started that in fall of 2015, and I didn't publish it until June of 2019. I had twins during that time.
Okay, okay.
So,
We'll give you a break.
yeah, I mean, it was I have very hazy memories of that era of their, like, first year of life, but, that one took me the longest because I had no idea what I was doing
Yeah.
and no idea how good or bad it was, and I had to rewrite a lot, and, my quickest book I don't know. I'm like a slow and steady wins the race kind of person. There's not a too much variation in how long it takes me to write a book because I'm like 2,000 words a day,
Mhm.
like I know some writers who are like, "Oh, I wrote 15,000 words yesterday." I can't do that. Like I will die. I think I wrote 10,000 words one day, but then I can't write for days afterward because I'm just depleted.
Yeah, totally.
So, um because of that, it's pretty I know that it will take me 7-ish weeks to write my first draft if I'm writing 4 to 5 days a week. If I, get off that schedule and, skip a couple days, then obviously it takes longer, but I'm pretty consistent. And because I'm consistent, I've never missed a deadline to like an editor or whatever because I know how I work and what kind of a schedule I need to make those deadlines. So just keep plugging away every day.
So you can write a book in 7 weeks.
Yeah, that's it's
Wow,
pretty standard for me.
that's incredible.
So, well, if I'm writing 2,000 words a day, 5 days a week, it's 10,000 words a week, and most of my books fall around 70 to 80,000 words is pretty standard for me. So that's 8 weeks pretty regularly, but
That's incredible. In my head, in my very ape head, I'm thinking people write books like, "Oh, it's taking months, takes some years."
well, it definitely can, and, everybody's different, like I said, so some people do like, it does take years, and, um, I do I don't know. I think there's kind of an idea. I always feel a little bit weird when people are like, "How many books have you published?" And I'm like, 35. And I'm like, "Holy cow." And I feel like there's kind of this idea that like I must be putting out like garbage just
Mhm.
like fast, you know? Um, but I've also and not to say like people don't do that, but like um I don't think that there's such a correlation between how long something takes and how good it is. You know, like I think what was it? Mariah Carey wrote "All I Want for Christmas Is You" in
Yep.
like less than an hour or something.
Scratch pad.
Not that, like I mean, it's not like that is like, but it's a very popular
Yeah.
song, you know. So sometimes you're just inspired, and sometimes you're just consistent. A lot of writers are hobbyist writers, and I do this for a job. So if you're a hobbyist writer, like it absolutely makes sense that it will take you, you know, a year or two even to write a
Mhm.
book. But there's the tricky thing about writing a book over a really long period of time is that you have to like get back into it. Every time you start writing, it's like for me, because I'm writing so consistently, everything's very fresh. And I know exactly where I am in the story. Where if I take a break from something, I'll have to like go back and reread the thing so that I can like remember
Yeah.
what needs to happen next. So yeah, that's just the process that has worked for me. If I let myself start like taking bigger breaks,
Mhm.
then it's just it gets out of hand real quick.
Yeah, and I'm sure getting back into your groove of things, your routine is pretty hard too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
consistent.
yeah, consistency is key
Yeah.
for me. That's just how I have to do it.
Plus, I bet your readers love it that you're a little bit quicker. Right? Maybe
Yeah,
that's not
I
quick,
hope
but
I yeah, I hope so. I
yeah.
mean, I think they've learned that they can reliably expect a book from me every 4 months, and um I do kinda hop between Regency and rom-com,
Mhm.
so it's like 6 months usually between one genre, but, um, yeah, they can pretty well expect that from me.
That's awesome. Um, being a writer, what is something that people probably misunderstand about being a published author?
I don't know if they do. I think people probably assume that once you've written a certain number of books that it, like, gets easier.
Oh,
But, I mean, there was absolutely the second book I wrote was easier than my first
yeah,
book. But generally, it feels like a gargantuan task every time I start a book, and I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, how am I gonna do this?" Because it's a million little decisions that you have to make and, like, just understanding human psychology, like, you're the one in control, like, you're deciding where this goes. Sometimes you get characters who kind of really lead you along, but a lot of times people are like, "Oh, I take a personality test for my character," and I'm like, "But I'm the one making those choices," you know, like, so, it's just it's hard every time. It's a huge challenge, and you always feel like you kinda don't know what you're doing, but because I finished so many times, I'm like, "I know I can do it
yeah.
because I've done it before," even though right now I'm like, "This book is the worst. No one's gonna wanna read this. I don't know what I'm doing." So, that's something that surprised me, I
Yeah,
think, but I've heard from every other author I know, I think would probably agree with that.
and then afterwards, winning awards.
Oh, man. Book awards, yeah. Don't get me started on
I'm sure that's a
that
big
one.
thing, huh?
Yeah, you know, it's like anything. It's kind of like once you see how the sausage is made, it feels a little less. I mean, every author wants to be validated, and winning an award is so nice, in a lot of ways, but also, you know,
Once you have it.
it's political to a certain
Mm,
extent, some awards more than others, and so it's kinda it's kinda hard. There's there's just a lot that goes in like New York Times bestsellers and stuff, like, that's not even an option for, like, most indie authors, like,
yeah,
it's not even attainable, but, like, you know, there's just a lot of feelings around those kind of accolades and stuff that you want it, but you're also kind of resent it
yeah.
and wish that it was more fair, and so it's, I had a book that won an award, in 2021, I think, and it was so weird because you feel like this will be the thing that makes me feel like I'm a
I
writer and
made
I'm a
it.
good
Yeah.
one, you know? And it just doesn't work that way. Like,
Mhm.
I could tell you so many excuses for why I don't feel like the book should have won and why it did win when it really shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And so I discount the award. And it's easy, same thing with reviews, is like I could play you so many one-star reviews and you just ignore all the five-star ones because those one-star ones are the ones that, like, confirm my
They
worst
stick.
fears, right? Like,
Yeah.
and it's really easy to let kinda sit in those and be like, "Oh my gosh, they know I'm a fraud and I'm an imposter." So I don't know, it's like we've talked about, it's like a mind game, and
Yeah.
you have to figure out how to kind of try to rise above it as often as you can.
Well, it makes sense, especially because like you do it for a living and you want to get, you know, well recognized and
Yeah.
you put in a lot of work. You want to
Yeah.
deserve something like an award, but then you
Yeah.
see the politics like, man, whose cousin won it? Oh, it's his cousin?
Yeah.
Dude, that's terrible.
I know, it's and you wanna be happy for people and their successes and everything, and you are, but it's also it's it's trying not to kind of give into that comparison game
Yeah.
and learning to be not to look to outer validation
Yeah.
to feel like you're
Hmm.
good enough or good at what you do, and I feel like that's kind of a constant
Yeah.
struggle for most people.
And at the end of the day, look at your beautiful family. You're
Right.
successful. You love what you do. Like, bro.
Right, and in some ways, I'm like, I am in the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Like, I have enough success to support my family,
Yeah.
but not so much that I'm, like, being recognized in on airplanes and stuff. Like, I've been recognized twice, and like,
Freaked you out.
really freaked me out. Yeah, because I was like, "Man, I'm not wearing makeup. I'm in my, like, sweats," and not
That's
even
the
thinking
first thing.
about, like, well, yeah, just because you're just going about your
Yeah.
life, and then you're like, "Oh my gosh, someone" I don't know, it was just
Yeah.
really kind of threw me off, and so I feel like there's something to be said for this spot that I've been fortunate to be in where I can make decent money, but
Yeah.
I don't wanna be a celebrity,
I was gonna say
like
you don't want to get bigger, do you?
yeah, like, being famous has so much baggage
Yeah.
attached to it, and I think it's so hard, and, um, even though it's kinda like the award thing, you feel like you want that, but I don't think I would actually want it, not
Yeah.
the reality of it, so I'm grateful for where I am.
Yeah. It's funny. My wife actually said the same thing about this
Really?
podcast. She's like, "Do it, but don't get too big." I'm like,
I
"Shh, don't
know,
worry,
yeah.
it's not going anywhere."
That's how we all feel, right? It's like yeah, it's you you want the validation,
Yeah.
but it doesn't really do what celebrities
Yeah.
have so many problems, right? You see
And
that all
and
the
it's so
time. It
fake
doesn't
too. Like, it's
yeah,
all yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it doesn't fix anything
No.
and it comes with its own
Mhm.
set of problems. So,
Who wants to walk down the street to, like, Smith's and have to cover up and
oh
not
my
see
gosh.
anybody
It's
paparazzi? I'm like, "That'd be the worst."
so hard. Yeah, like you can't live your life, Like
Uh,
very limiting.
I saw this post where people like, it was listing off actors that actually traded it up. They're like, "I'm out. I'm
Oh
done. I don't
yeah.
even care anymore. I just want a
Yes.
normal life." They move in the middle of nowhere and they're
Uh-huh.
loving life.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure after experiencing that
yeah.
must feel so freeing.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Well, let's get into like life balance. How do you
Yeah.
balance writing with the rest of your life? I know your kids are in school.
Yeah.
They were homeschooled when you were traveling and
Yeah.
staying in the UK. Now they're back. Brandon's at home.
Mhm.
Like life's peachy, huh?
Oh, man. I feel like the life balance is it's like a myth, not a myth, but it's like you're always trying to attain it. Like, at least that's how it feels like for me. I'm always kind of like, shoot, I should be more present. I should be doing this and that to be like a better mom or there's always a million things that I'm not doing. And um it feels like kinda like just a constant weight that you're pulling around, but, I don't know, I think even just, like, attempting like, striving for balance is just good, just that striving, itself gets you closer to some semblance of it than if it's never on your mind, but I just think there are also times and seasons for different things, and so, um like, when my babies when my kids were babies,
Mm.
like, writing had to take a back seat a little more, or I could only do it when I could do it, when they were asleep, which they were never great sleepers, so it wasn't very much. But, so for my job, I am fortunate to have the flexibility that I can.
Yeah.
I set my schedule, I decide how many books I publish a year, so if there's a time when, I feel like I need to pull back and be more present in some sphere of life, like I have that flexibility. Um, but it is just, I feel like a constant thing that we're trying to attain as humans, and especially in this day and age when there's just so much information and so many shoulds
Mhm.
from like, you should be doing this and this and this, and you can get really weighed down by it. And you just kind of have to decide want your life to look like and what's realistic and just do your best. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
And it's nice too that you work from home
Uh-huh.
or anywhere, honestly,
Yeah.
and you're not working 8 to 5.
Right.
A
Yeah.
lot of people try and get out of the rat race, and
Yeah.
it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard. Like there's so many options nowadays. Like you can make an app, you can get famous, you can
Mhm.
do YouTube, make a
Yeah.
podcast. Like you can do anything. But the fact that you did it, like that's so cool.
Oh, man. Well, and it just like
Frees up time too. Yeah.
yeah, it makes it's kind of a I don't wanna complain because, like I said, I know how fortunate I am, but I have noticed that sometimes it's hard to because I am so flexible, I'm kind of feel like the default person that I'm like, "Oh, I can do that because I don't have, like, a real job," you
I see.
know?
Yep.
Like, "Oh, yeah, I can have appointments at whatever time of day,"
Yeah.
you know? And so
Yeah.
I don't really protect the time that I have, that I should be writing as well sometimes as I should, but, I'm also still grateful. I'd rather have it that way,
Yeah.
obviously, than any other way, but I do, I think about it all the time, just like how lucky I am to have the flexibility to be able to do my job from anywhere and to be there for my kids when they need me,
Hmm.
and, should I be there more? Yes, but I'm really grateful.
It's so nice. I work from home. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's so nice to be, like you said, you want to go take a break? Yeah, let's go to the park.
Right.
Or they don't, my kids are homeschool, but
Uh-huh.
if they come home from the school, you see them come off the bus, like
Yeah.
that's such a blessing.
Right, yeah, I get it, like, I hear my kids come in the door, and I'm up
Yeah.
from my computer to go,
Yeah.
like, be with them and talk to them about their day and make them snack or whatever it is
What a
because
good mom.
I Yeah, Brandon's like, "I do snack every day," like, listening to this podcast.
Shout out to Brandon.
Yeah, yeah, for real, seriously.
That's awesome. Good deal. Well, you got a new book out. Give
I
me
mhm.
a give me a 1 minute version. What's this book on? What's the title and everything?
Okay, sorry, now I have to think about my latest release. I have a book coming out in a month, and so, like, my brain's on that one, but I just had one come out in, April, so that's the most recent release. People are like, "How many books do you have out?" And I think it seems so stupid that I have to, like, sit and think about it, but because I'm in like, at any given time, I'm working on 2 or 3 books, like,
Mhm.
one's with, like, my narrator, and one's with an editor, and one I'm writing, and so I'm like my brain is such a mess. Um but my most recent release is called Rival to Resist, and it's a Regency romance. It's the 4th in its series, the 4th and final in its series. And it's one that I was planning like from the I set up the series knowing that this was like a premise that I wanted to write, and that I knew it was gonna be difficult. But in the Regency era, women had very few rights. And I found I kind of created a situation where this woman was a widow and she had control of the votes in this area. This borough is what they're referred to. And my hero wants a seat in parliament, and he has to try to convince her to give him her votes. And she does not like him. And it takes place in Cornwall, which is one of my favorite areas of England. And very inspired by Poldark. If anyone's watched that series, it's a favorite of mine and Brandon's. It's not just mine. Brandon is not like a historical romance lover, but he enjoyed that series. So it's one I feel like husbands and wives can watch together. But so yeah, it's just this really like unique coastal setting and like a fishing village. So you've got kind of like this juxtaposition of like these poor fishers and miners, and then you've got this woman with a big estate who has power over this hero's future, which is very opposite of what it normally was in that era. And it was just a fun one to write. It was a lot of research, but, yeah, it's just fun to kind of flip things on their head for that, so that's Rival to Resist.
Out already? Is it on
It's
Amazon only or where?
it is, it's on Amazon, so you can actually read it, like it's available to libraries, but the audiobook is available on all major platforms. It's just that ebook that is
Mm,
Amazon exclusive. They're very
I'm sure.
protective of what they feel like is theirs.
Mm,
So if I have a lot of my books enrolled in the Kindle Unlimited program, and when you do that, you are not allowed to
interesting.
sell it elsewhere. So yeah,
Thank you, Amazon.
yeah.
That's so
Oh,
fun. So was there a scene or a character in the book where you're like, man, this was so hard to get through or hard to write?
let's see. Oh man, there's always scenes that
Too
are
many.
really tricky. Every story has its scenes, and I'm like, kind of, I can sense them coming, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be rough to write. I think just in general, my heroine. I'm like I said, I'm always nervous to write like a quote unquote strong heroine, um, because I'm worried she's gonna come off too strong
Masculine.
for some of my readers. So Caroline in this position of power, I was nervous to write her. I wanted her to still feel like warm and likable, but also like she's not gonna take this guy's crap or whatever. So she was one that I was kind of nervous to write, but, um, ended up really liking how it came out. So it was more I feel like, yeah, more of a character that was tricky than a single scene that comes to mind
Yeah.
immediately.
Well, you did it. Done.
Yeah. Check. Oh.
So now it's out. What do you want the readers to feel after finishing? Because this is the last one in the series, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah,
Sense of closure.
yeah, I guess I'm always hoping that they'll finish a book, especially a last in series with kind of, like, bittersweet feelings,
Mm.
like satisfied, but also kind of wishing they got a little more
Yeah,
time with the characters, and that's definitely kind of what I hope for this book is they got to, little glimpses of the characters from the earlier books. It's always tricky to write a love story and focus on the main characters, but also give like organically like have characters that people want to see. But I tried to do that as best I could, and I hope that readers feel like they got a good ending to the series, I guess
yeah.
is the main thing.
Do you ever try and, like, bring characters back in, like, another series? Or I'm sure that's hard because 'cause you've written 4 books. You're like, "Man, I'm so invested in this character," you know?
Yeah, it's kind of it goes both ways because I found that I as a writer often because you have a lot of people when they find out you're an author, they're like, "Where do you get your ideas?" And you're like, "Oh my gosh, ideas are the least of my problems." It's sticking with one idea until I can
Oh,
see it
finish it.
through,
Ah, okay,
Like I
okay.
have a million ideas and most authors do, but um I think sometimes I'm like by the 3rd book in a series or so, I'm kind of like ready to move to a new idea, and at the same time I'm like you get to know the character so well and their world that it's really bittersweet to end a series. So I have uh, like I'm actually, I can't. That's a spoiler. I had a book, the book that I talked about that
Yeah.
was so hard for me to write. It was such a trial, and I couldn't. People were like asking for a side character story. They're like, "When are you going to write his story? When are you going to write his story?" And I was like, I can't go back to
Yeah.
that place.
Not
I
touching
can't go
that.
back to the bad place. And so now finally, I feel like I've had enough time where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write his story now. So it wasn't one I wrote, like, the book planning on writing, but now I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it." So, it'll be fun. I'll have to reread that whole book to,
Mhm.
like, make sure I'm writing his character consistent with what I wrote before, but I'm thinking it'll be a little bit fun.
So let me get this straight. You wrote that book,
Yeah.
people asked for a side character story,
Yes.
and now you're going back and you're doing it.
Yeah. When
Okay.
they really, like a side character, all romance readers are like, "When do we get his
Yeah,
story?"
yeah.
It's like, "When does he get a love story?" So, yeah, I'm gonna write, one of those side character stories and
Okay.
yeah.
Can you say who the side character is, or
Yeah, so his it's Magnus. So the book was A Suitable Arrangement, and, Magnus is the side character that people were most like, "We want his story." So, yep,
coming
it's
soon?
coming up, yeah.
7 weeks.
Oh, man, nope.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what's the next for you? You have a book out in April,
Mhm,
another book coming out soon.
yeah.
What's that?
So on June 3rd, I'm releasing No Match Found, which is a rom-com. It's a first in series.
Okay.
So it's a brand new series. Actually inspired by my sister-in-law. I've been wanting to write. She is so cool. She's a hacker for Microsoft. And so specifically she's working in AI right now, but she tests their systems to find the flaws, and so they can patch them. And I just think she's so smart and also just like very I don't know, relatable and nice and funny. And so I was like, man, what a cool job. And so this story isn't specifically about like a hacker like her, but it's inspired like the whole company that I'm setting the series at is was kind of spurred from that idea of her job and everything. So um yeah, it's about a woman who runs a matchmaking app. She's a data scientist, very numbers focused, is also secretly scared of love that she's not like lovable because she's too intense and driven and whatever. And so a reporter comes in to do a story about the company and he wants to watch her use the app. And so and he's kind of a cutthroat journalist, so it's a story of them. So that's coming out next month. So I'm
And what's it
excited.
called?
No Match Found.
No Match Found.
Mhm. Yeah.
Coming out soon.
Coming out. Yep.
That's awesome. Okay. Do you see yourself writing, evolving since you first started to now? Like, what's that evolution kind of look like?
Good question. Yeah, I feel like in the beginning, I was definitely more attempting to imitate like Georgette Hare, for
Yeah.
instance. Like I was trying to I was trying to make like recreate it almost, you know? And since then, I feel like I've kind of come into my own voice and can I don't have to try to be something that I'm not. Um and it just feels like less pressure on myself. So um and I've learned some of my strengths. Like I feel like I I do well, or at least I really love writing dialogue. Sometimes I wonder if I should do screenwriting because screenwriting is very dialogue based, and I've always struggled more with like descriptions and kind of like the stuff that goes between dialogue. So I feel like I've kind of honed in on that and also just let a lot of the pressure go when you're establishing yourself, especially in a historical romance genre. Historical readers can be kind of hoity-toity about some stuff and they want it to be accurate, but sometimes they don't know what is accurate and
Yeah.
it's just kind of it's a lot as a new author. And now I've gotten to a place where I'm like I'm okay with I do my research and I try to make things historically accurate, but I'm also okay with taking artistic liberties because I like for me story comes first and it's a good place to be because it felt like kind of I was always nervous that I was going to get things wrong and I'm like I'm going to get things wrong. Like
Yeah.
that's not a question of whether just how much and when. So, yeah.
But you're also safe because it's fiction too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. I'm like
Let
if
it
you
go.
want it to be 100% accurate just read
Yeah.
like a history book, you
Yeah.
know? So this is story, right?
Yeah. Would you ever switch over to screenwriting?
If I knew much about it, I don't even know enough to know if it's like a really feasible career move, you know?
Gotcha.
I would love to take some screenwriting courses
Mhm.
and get a good feel for it, but if it was, like, I could see myself moving in that direction. I would love to there are a couple authors who have taken their books and then written screenplays and then seen them through the development into an adaptation that they oversee so they can make it more true to the books,
Yeah.
and I like that idea. But it's a lot, it's a whole different industry.
Yeah. It's a big switch.
Yeah.
Dang. Well, we've been talking for a while. So, in closing, I got a couple last questions.
Okay.
What's the best writing advice you've ever heard or been given?
Oh, man. Best writing advice I've ever been given. Um, I don't know. Um, I'm not gonna be able to get the quote right because I don't remember it, but it's from Pinterest. Just kidding.
Oh,
I have a Pinterest board of, like, writing inspiration quotes, and this one's on there, and so I don't even remember who said it, but, it's something about how like serious writers will find over time that consistency is a better friend than like muse.
mm,
And for me, I don't know, not that for everybody, but for me that's been true. Like I can't wait for my muse to, grace myself with her presence or whatever. I just have to keep going
yeah.
and I've managed to get a lot of books done that way. And so I feel like for me that's probably the most crucial piece of advice.
Yeah. And it's also nice that you have so much support from
Mhm.
everywhere. Yeah.
Yes.
That's huge, I bet.
Yeah, absolutely. Like from everywhere. I really lean on that support.
Yeah.
I and this is not it feels like a solitary job, but it's so not.
Yeah.
Like it requires so many people to make what I do possible. Like, yeah.
All the stuff in the background that no one
Yes,
sees.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Totally. So, what's the worst advice people give aspiring authors coming up? It's like, don't ever hear that. Don't ever believe that.
By that course.
Yeah.
Like, there's so it feels like when you're a writer and you're desperate to make a living at it and to be good at it, it's so easy to be like, "Oh, if I just buy that course
I'll do
or
anything.
then
Yeah.
yeah, like then it will just click." And it's just I don't know that it's really ever true, you know? The best thing you can do as a writer is to just keep writing. Like that's how you get good is just it's practice, right? And practice as a writer just means writing. And so there's a lot of I don't want to say like predatory, but it feels like that sometimes like where people who are offering these courses and some of them are great and some of them are people who I'm like if you're so good at this, like
Yeah.
why are you writing courses instead of writing
Yeah.
books, you know? Um, I'm probably gonna regret that I said that, but I've just
No.
felt like that at times,
Yeah.
and so I just think there are a lot of people kind of preying on desperate, like, new writers for, like, vanity presses that are like, "We'll publish your book, just give us $3,000." I'm
Oh
like, "You can
man.
put it up on Amazon for $0. You should get it edited and get a great cover and everything, but you don't need to pay somebody to publish your book.
Yeah.
That's not how it works." So,
So if someone wants to write a book, they have an idea, they have a laptop,
yeah.
what's the very first thing they should do?
I don't know. I think just like get started, honestly. Like, the whole can't edit a blank page thing. Like, you really can't until you get into it. You don't know what you don't know. Like, you start writing and you realize, oh my gosh, I don't even know this or this about my character or about my story. And until you get a sense for what you're lacking, like that's the only real way to get a sense for whether your story is going to work and what you still need to do, what work you need to do. To make it happen. So, yeah, I mean, just start writing.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's the same. Like when you first got into it, you're like, I just gotta get this going.
Yeah.
Like your sister was like, you should write a book.
Mhm.
You're like, no. But then you're like, "Ah, I should. And you just started.
Yeah. Yep. Just gotta I mean, even if I know some writers who will just like I write in a linear manner.
Hmm.
I have to start at the beginning and write through to the end. But there are a lot of writers who will just like if a scene pops in their head, they'll write it. And I'm like, go for it because that scene, if you get it written, you'll start realizing what you need in order to build up to that scene and what will come after it. And you can build a whole book around snippet scenes, you know. So whatever way whether you're starting at the beginning or starting with a scene that's inspiring you, like you just got to get started.
Just get started.
Yeah.
There it is. So what do you think separates people that actually write versus that said, I'm going to write? Because like I've heard people say like, I'm gonna write a book.
Yeah.
And then I see people, oh, that guy actually did write a book.
Yeah. Um, yeah, because that is very common. There's, I think it's on a lot of people's bucket lists to write a book. Um, I don't know if there's something like innately different because I didn't, like I said, I never considered myself a writer,
Hmm.
but a lot of people just like the idea of it, right? And so it's very different to think about writing a book and to like think about seeing your name on it versus like to actually enjoy the process. And, you have to enjoy the process. I mean, I guess in the age of AI, you don't have to enjoy the process. You could still slap your name on a book,
Yeah.
But, if you don't enjoy the process of writing a book, it's why do it,
Yeah.
So I think a lot of the people who have that drive to create through writing are gonna be the ones that do it, and the ones who just want to have their name on a book
Yeah.
maybe won't. Um, and maybe that's an oversimplification, but that's kind of what I would say.
No, that makes sense. Well, this is my last question for you.
Okay.
What's one piece of advice about success you want to pass down to future generations?
There's a lot of different metrics you can use to measure success, and, it's easy to let the world decide what those are for you, but there's so many people I don't know if you know who Alan Richson is, but he plays Reacher Jack Reacher on the TV series, I think it's on Prime.
Big boy.
Yeah, yeah, big boy. And he talks about how he's super driven and he had this idea of like where he wanted to get to and he got there and then he found it was just really hollow. Like it did not satisfy him at all. And I think that is a pretty common story and so your how you define success really needs to I think personally is ultimately gonna be more about your relationships in life, than it is about, whatever worldly achievements you attain. Um, so I don't know, that sounds like very cliche or whatever, but, we've talked about how those achievements, like, for me, like, with that award that I got where I was just like, "But not really,"
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
my book got an award, but, it's easy to have those don't validate you in the way that You have to have some kind of internal sense of self, and also like your relationships, the strength of those and the depth of those are, I think, what really make a life feel successful at the end. Like, you always hear about people on their deathbeds and what they do and don't regret. And so rarely is it like, man, I really wish I'd gotten that Oscar or that
Yeah.
award. It's like, man, I should have spent more time with my kids,
Hmm.
or my told my wife I loved her more, or whatever. So I really think that, cliche as it is, that's what it comes down to. It's just being your best self, challenging yourself, whatever form that takes, and valuing the people around you.
Martha, I appreciate you being here. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So how can people find you if they want to support the books, find your writings? Where can they find you?
I've got a website. It's just my name, marthakeys.com, Keyes. And then on Amazon. Like, those are the easiest ways to find me. So,
Instagram.
yeah, Instagram, I'm on there, author Martha Keys. But on my website, you've got links to everything. So, yeah.
Perfect. Well, I'm so glad you came on.
Thank
And
you.
good luck with the book coming out and I hope the
Thanks.
success.
Thank you so
Of
much.
course. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.